How do we plan our routes and our travel plans when we live in an RV full time? I'd like to talk to you about that today and share with you several different tools that I utilize to piece this all together, as well as memberships that all go together to make my RV route planning and our RV life much easier. My name is David with RV Family.Life. Thank you so much for joining us here. We've lived in our RV for over 2.5 years. It's me, my wife Tanya, our girls Kaylin and Kira, and our dog Daisy. I am already planning for the summer of 2025 and preemptively planning for the summer of 2026. I think about these things that far out because I like to have a rough idea of where we're going to be. So let's take a look at the first item, which is a map. All right, so we will start right here at our webpage. This is RVFamily.Life. If you've ever wondered why the .life is there, it's because when we went to create a new YouTube channel, we thought let's tie it in with a website. And getting RVFamily.com was a $7,000 expense. Getting RVFamily.Life was a $20 expense. Made a lot more sense, just kind of tied it all together. So what I've done on RVFamily.Life is I have created a what I call 1,000 Trails map. So this is useful if you're a 1,000 Trails member. If you want to skip past this point and get to where I talk more about RV Trip Wizard, that's perfectly fine. I wouldn't blame you. But if you are looking for ways to save money when you're doing the RV life, I encourage you to look at 1,000 Trails at the memberships. If you know you're going to do this long term. I've had people say, hey, I'm only going to do this for like 6 months or a year. Do you think it's worth spending $14,000 on an adventure membership for 1,000 Trails? No. If you're only doing it short term like that, you're better off just finding your best deals on parks and just hitting up what you want to see. This is 1,000 Trails membership is a much better deal if you're doing it for multiple years in a row. Because then my cost is about, I financed it. I had several $1,000s I put down. Finance the rest, and I pay just under $350 a month for the membership, and then I basically get free rent as long as I'm staying at the 1,000 Trails Park. All those numbers could obviously change and depend. They raise the prices. They have sales. They've had some sales recently where it was 0% interest. I was kind of kicking myself I wasn't at a sales office to say, hey, could I refinance what I have and get some of that 0% interest? I don't know if that would have worked or not, but at any rate, looking here, this, like I said, this is the RVFamily.Life website. We've got a link for 1,000 Trails map, and I've made this map with Google Maps. It's just something that you can do. You can make your own maps. I made this, and I feel like it's really helped me, and I want to share it with others. Just real quick on navigation on this, if you click the arrow up here, you can turn things on and off. If I don't want to see any Trails Collection parks, I don't care about getaway cabins at the moment. High usage parks, I think I'll leave those in place because you kind of do want to know about those. Less than 40 feet, this is just something that I personally was paying attention to. The 2 parks in Massachusetts. The Sturbridge, definitely. If you have less than or more than 36 feet, they won't even let you book. Last summer of 2023, people had reservations with longer RVs. 1,000 Trails went through and cleaned them up. A bunch of people found themselves kind of out of luck because all of a sudden everything got, if they were booked there, they just lost their reservation. I haven't been there. Gateway to Cape Cod, I had people tell me would be acceptable for a rig as big as ours, and we did go there, but size-wise, I was not very comfortable. It was a tight squeeze getting through the trees there. That's just something that really stresses me out. So let's go ahead and we'll just remove those. I also have a Trails 55 plus selection in here. So if you are someone that wants to go to 55 plus parks, you can toggle those. But if you're like me and you travel with a couple of kiddos, you probably don't want those because you're not going to plan on using those. So, but I put them all in there just so that you can see where they're at and know where to go. The high usage parks is something that I added this summer when we got to Seaside 1,000 Trails. If you are using high usage parks, what to know about with 1,000 Trails, you can only have 2 reservations at a time, and you can only stay 2 weeks at a time. And the only way you can extend that is if you're an adventure member, which is the highest level membership. In advance, you can pay $99 with the online booking people to add a third week, which you can only do 2 times a year. Otherwise, for everybody else, 2 weeks is all you're going to get at those parks. Once you have completed one of those reservations, now you can make another one. And you can kind of see the pinkish color. I'll toggle it off and on so you can see where those are at. Florida in the wintertime that's a hot issue. So Thousand Trails Orlando, which is a very popular park because it's got 1,100 sites and it's just a few miles from Disney World. Makes a lot of sense as why that's a very popular park in the wintertime. So you want to know where those high usage parks are, because when you're making your plans, you don't want to go in there saying, well, I'm going to stay at these 5 parks this next summer. Good luck. It's not going to work so well for you. So the reason I show you all this is because this kind of helps you to see where all the Thousand Trails are. It's because we depend on the Thousand Trails to help us save money, we need to do one of 2 things every summer, and that is stick to the east or stick to the west. As you can see right through the middle, you pretty much just have Colorado and kind of Texas, and some people might consider Indiana and Kentucky the middle, but I have family in Colorado and family in South Dakota, and so it kind of stinks for us because going to see family is not something that we can have a cost savings associated. There are RPI parks, which is something that you can add on. I have been, me personally, this is an opinion, I have been disappointed in what RPI brings to the table. That's just my opinion. There are other people that absolutely love RPI. There's a lot of cool options that RPI adds. So you probably won't hear me talk about it just because I've been not happy. All right, so what I'm going to look at is the fact, and I wanted to talk with you guys, is that we tend to go one coast for one summer and the other coast for the other summer. What that does is that allows for us to stick to an area. Biggest reason is diesel cost, diesel or gas, depending on what kind of a truck that you use or RV. But when you start trying to say, oh, okay, we're going to see our family in New York, and our family in California, and our family in Florida, and our family in Washington, and we're going to do it all in 1 year, you're going to run out of fuel money really fast. So, I mean, maybe you can afford that. And if you can, good on you. It's still quite an expense just to go to one side. So I would say I need over $1,000 to make it from Texas to Maine in a season, right? So I have to have that money, and it can be quite costly. So keep that in mind if you're not in the RV life and you're considering this. Fuel's expensive. It's currently better than it has been. The summer of 2022, it was horrific. We had to cut so many plans off of what we wanted to do because just affording fuel and groceries was just not good that summer. So it currently is better. It's not as good as it has been, but it's better. So I like to use this map to plan out where I'm going to go between Thousand Trails parks. RV Life Trip Wizard helps me to patch the holes on travel days, because chances are you're not going to be able to make it, which the East Coast you can possibly, making it through the middle of the country, not so much. But I wanted to kind of show you how I plan my routes. Now let's transition over to RV Life Trip Wizard. Let us create a trip. I just kind of wanted to walk y'all through this real quick. Just make a simple one, East Coast, and yeah, I guess we'll plan it out for the future. We'll just say we'll start it on May the 4th, be with you, any Star Wars fans out there. And we'll just use my current location. It's going to show you where I'm at the very moment, and I don't want to do that. Use the search to select the starting location. Oh, there we go. This wasn't working for me a minute ago. We'll do that right there. Start here. Thousand Trails Orlando is probably going to be a good point to start if you're doing the East Coast and you're using Thousand Trails. All right, and RV Life Trip Wizard starts you out showing you, hey, here's the trip name. You can add some notes. You can say this is a tentative trip, active trip. I've never played with that. We'll leave it active for now because that's what I know. Want to get some emails on the start of your trip? RV Life Trip Wizard will actually email you out stuff, just kind of letting you know like cool little details about where you're at, where you're going. It's nice. If you would rather look at things in metric over imperial, you certainly can. You can manually input here your height of your RV, your length of your RV, your weight. Are you carrying propane or not? There are some tunnels on the East Coast that will not be happy with you for bringing propane. I've got diesel. Oh, I should update this right here. Fuel capacity. We have changed trucks, and I have not changed this. We now have a 50-gallon tank. Nice to have. All right, now this is really useful. If you want to avoid tolls, which I'd like to, but I'm going to turn that off because that limits me a bit. Let's go ahead and avoid ferries and tunnels. No, I'll leave tunnels on. There's been a number of tunnels we've been through, we've been just fine. Like Mobile, Alabama. Avoid unpaved roads, like a gravel road. Sometimes you got to do that. It'll warn you. If you turn that on, you'll get a warning on your route. It'll just let you know, hey, there's an unavoidable unpaved road on this path, which a lot of times the 1,000 Trails parks may have that. You can change, if you want to just say, hey, I never go over 65 miles per hour, you can put that in there, which is my case. I like to be the slowest guy on the highway. I prefer to stay in the right lane and watch everybody pass me. All right, average hours per day. If you just want to do 6 hours, you can kind of put all this in here. And the only one I've played with here is just the average cost per gallon. Since we're doing East Coast, let's raise it up a little bit. Save and finish. All right, now it's going to kind of build out the trip, and it shows we're starting at 1,000 Trails Orlando, right there, close to Orlando. It's kind of a new recent thing that all these Walmarts started popping up. They treat those as a point of interest. Okay. Yeah, we don't need to see those. Now, after you've got your route planned and you want to see things more clearly, you can turn Show Campgrounds off. But while you're planning your route, you're going to probably want to see those. Now we've got a nice big radius there. This is bigger than it was in the past because I changed my fuel tank capacity from 24 to 50 gallons. I think it also takes into account that I only put 6 hours of driving. So I think that it probably would go even bigger if I increase the driving time that's acceptable. Now, I typically don't like to do more than 300 miles in a day. That's just me. There are other people out there that limit themselves to 200 in a day. And there are other people that will start driving at 5 p.m. and drive until they arrive 700 miles later. That's all an option that you get to, you pick what you want to do. All right, so let's go from 1,000 Trails Orlando, and there was 1,000 Trails Park. Lost where I was. We've got 1,000 Trails Park right here in South Carolina. It's called the Oaks at Point South. If you want to click on it, I'm trying to add more stuff in here on my map. This is the RV Family.Life website. It can actually take me to 1,000 Trails Park website to learn more about that park. In the meantime, while that's loading, because my internet seems to be funny, let's find that. It is down here by Yemisi. There's the Yemisi KOA Holiday. I have actually stayed there. They actually share a bunch of hiking trails between them. All right, so if we add this to the trip, we'll say we're going to stay there for one night. I used to do more of this lock date of stay, and then you would actually set the specific dates. And I can tell you that when you want to make changes, that is an absolute pain in the butt. So try to stick with this. You currently just leave it as the last stop because it's literally the only thing there. Add it to your trip, and we take a look. Ooh, 346 miles. Now, I will tell you, I said I don't like to go over 300 miles. In the last couple of months, trying to troubleshoot some of our finances and see where we're losing the most money, I would say it's probably too many single night stops at KOA holidays or just, individual parks like that where I'm typically spending too much money. So I have started pushing a little bit further. I think I've got a 375 mile day plan coming up here pretty soon. Just pushing a little bit further, trying to incorporate some like Walmart docking, other types of boondocking options, just to try to trim our budget back a little bit. So I'm going to accept this 346. Let's take a look at the route. And what's great about RV Life Trip Wizard is it's not going to route you down something that's going to put your height at a risk. So this is pretty good. I highly doubt Interstate 4 and Interstate 95 are going to have any height restrictions. Big rigs are going down there all the time. If a semi, an 18-wheeler can travel it, your RV can. I highly doubt any of you have modified your RVs so much that you are taller than 13 foot 6 inches. I don't think we're even 13 foot 6, but I just put in 13 foot 6 so it never sends me down a route that is too low for a semi truck. All right, so that takes us up this far. Where I'd like to get to is 1,000 Trails. Oh, hey, there's the Oaks at Point South. Real quick. I'd like to get to 1,000 Trails, maybe in North Carolina. Ultimately, where I would like to go is to this one in Lynchburg. But I'm thinking that the distance between these two is too far. So let's take a look. We're probably going to need to book something in the middle. Let's get to Lynchburg, Clarksburg, Harrisonburg. So many burgs. This is where it can get a little confusing on the eyes, and I wind up going back and forth between the two. Okay, Lynchburg, Rustburg, Windfall. All right, that's where we're looking. There we go. Lynchburg, Rustburg. Bada bing. 1,000 Trails, Lynchburg. Let's add to the trip. And let's stay here for 14 days. When you are a 1,000 Trails member, typically, if it's not a high-use park, you can stay for up to 21 days. But we will just do 14. And I'm seeing that there's a 382-mile drive. I could make it. But just for the sake of saying, let's divide that up. All right, so there's the last spot. If you hold your mouse over that, it'll show you in red, over here on the left, it'll show you in red the route. So I need something about halfway between, and this is where it's nice to take RV Trip Wizard and start looking for something that'll cut our trip down. The Zooland Family Campground. What is this? So you come in here and they've actually got end user photos from people that have stayed at this park. So far I kind of like what I'm seeing. Oh, bouncy pillow. The girls would absolutely love the bouncy pillow. Just kind of looking through here. I mean, this looks pretty good for a single night. Kind of looks like it used to be maybe a Jellystone, KOA, something to that effect, and maybe they just kind of branched off on their own. We see that happen a lot. They don't want to pay the franchisee spots. But a nice pull-through spot like that for a single night is kind of nice. Like I said, this is partially where my budget's kind of hurting a little bit because I do too many of these, but I'm going to just go ahead and throw this on the plan so y'all can see what's up with this. So, I just want to stay here one night. But I don't want it to be the last stop. I want to make it after the Oaks at Point South, which is the South Carolina park. And poof, it adds it in, divides me up, gives me 244 to drive on the 5th of May, and then 144 to drive to the 1,000 Trails Lynchburg. Now let me tell you real quick, well, let's elaborate for a moment on why you may want less days before you're pulling, or less hours, less miles, before you're pulling into a 1,000 Trails park. Majority of the 1,000 Trails parks are first come, first serve. That is up for debate, as they are actually trying a reservation system at some of the parks, which could be problematic. The jury is still out on that. But for the most part, 1,000 Trails have typically been first come, first serve. So if there's 10 open spots, and they let you come in at noon, and there's 10 people coming in at noon, If you don't show up till 6 p.m., you get the leftovers. If you don't want the leftovers, go watch our video on Thousand Trails La Conner. If you pull in and there's a spot that's only big enough for a 15-foot RV and you've got a 44-foot toy hauler, you're in trouble. So you may want a shorter drive on that day you're pulling into a Thousand Trails park. Just keep that in mind. So we'll leave this like this is. Now we've kind of got our route planned here. And we're at 19 minutes. I think we'll go ahead and add some more stuff in here. Let's go back to my Thousand Trails map. Let's look at where we want to go next. Now I've got high use parks turned on. I happen to know that Hershey Thousand Trails is a high use park. So if I've got a reservation at Thousand Trails Orlando, which is high use, and I don't have any others, I can book this one. Once it's booked though, I'm fully booked on those. Let's go. Oh, I noticed I don't have the link here to that park. I need to go back and modify my map and add that to it to help you guys out. All right, let us find Thousand Trails Hershey. If you've not been to Thousand Trails Hershey, it is a pretty nice park. They've got a lot to offer, and the reason why they are a high-use park is because they are right by, basically, what is it called? Hershey World? It's a big, nice amusement park. Gives you nice, close access. All right, here is the Thousand Trails Hershey. Look through some of the user photos. Oh, somebody shared one of the Thousand Trails maps right here so that you can have easy access to it. Lots and lots of what we call cobra chickens. You would probably call them geese. They got a head like a cobra and a body like a chicken, and they will hiss at you if you get too close. They may even bite you. All right, Thousand Trails Hershey. It's a pretty nice park. I would go back there. All right, let's go ahead and add that to our trip. We'll say we want to stay there 14 days, which is the max. It's currently going to be our last stop because that's going to be our last stop. And it gave us a 312-mile drive. Just out of curiosity, is that through any big cities? No. As of this point, I'm very proud to say, this takes us around the Washington-Baltimore area. When we did the East Coast in 2023, I was very proud of the fact that we didn't drive through any of the major cities. That was a high point for me. Closest we got was over here, this loop around Boston. Was it that loop? No, I think we got all the way over here. Yeah. No? I don't know. You know, it was 495. It felt like we were in the city because it was gridlock traffic. That was the closest we got to any of the major cities out on the East Coast. So I was pretty happy with the routing. All right, so that gives us kind of a trip up the East Coast, and that's kind of how you put that in there. I think I'll just end at that point because this video is getting pretty long. I've had a video in the past where I talked about low bridges in Massachusetts. I will link that video here if you want to watch more on that. I was a little bit less experienced with RV Trip Wizard at the time, but I still use this app quite a bit. So you can always come back here. You can open up your trips and see the other ones that you've got planned. You can archive them, and then as you can see up there, I've got 7 that are active. Because like I said, I haven't played with that tentative yet. I do have a lot more. Our past ones are archived so that I can go back and take a look at these. And once you've got your trip planned, you can turn off Show Campgrounds, and now you can see a much cleaner map. Maybe you want to turn on Point of Interest and see Walmarts everywhere. I don't get that. Why is a Walmart a point of interest? Shouldn't that be more like a famous statue in South Carolina or a nice old wood-covered bridge in Ohio? Why is a Walmart a point of interest? Get back to us on that RV Life Trip Wizard. One thing I would like to update everybody on is RV Life Trip Wizard now works as an app through the Apple CarPlay and the Android Auto, I believe is what they're called, which is something that I, in the past, had said was missing. Now it works. So now I can plug my phone into my Ram truck, and on my big screen in the middle, it will pull up RV Trip Wizard so that I can see that for my navigation. I like to still cycle between the two, so I will load up on travel day RV Life Trip Wizard and Google Maps. I have both of them handling routing, and I will alternate between the two and spot check them just to make sure that they are staying true to the route we want to go to. I have still seen RV Life Trip Wizard do some weird things, especially if you're trying to go to Lake George Escape in New York. I don't know why they can't take me direct there, but they take me over a mountain, down by the water, back over the mountain, back to pretty much where they just had me turn right when I could have just turned left and gone about 100 feet. That was a weird one. I wish that I had some kind of way to troubleshoot with RV Life to get that resolved whenever we see those little details. So one other thing I'd like to talk to you about as well is the RV Parky website. And I think they have an RV Parky app as well. This is rvparky.com, and you can put on here things like, we'll just say Hershey since that's on the brain. And this shows you all kinds of potential stay options. For instance, there's the Hershey's Thousand Trails, but it also shows you here's a Walmart. Now, why might you want to know this? Because maybe you want to wall dock. That's what they're calling it these days? Yeah, wall dock. As you can see, somebody posted a picture here where they actually did, even though it says up here, users report overnight parking is not allowed. Doesn't allow overnight. This is a review from May 30th, 2023. Discontinued overnight parking. So this is the website that I use when I'm trying to determine other alternatives. So it has campgrounds listed. It has Cracker Barrels listed, because a lot of times Cracker Barrels will allow you to spend the night. They usually have truck stops listed. Be careful with truck stops, because a lot of times you're not going to want to put your slides out. It would be too tight. So if your RV can't handle that, don't do that. You've got rest areas. Same thing as a truck stop. You wouldn't want to put your slides out at truck stops or rest areas. And when you're at Walmart, you're going to want to put limited slides out. Try to minimize that as much as possible. So rvparky.com is a great filler. Now, one of the things too that's come along these days is Love's now has RV stops. And this year they're supposed to be building 100 new RV spots. Some of them are just 4 or 5 parking in the front where the people fill up with gas. Others are full-on RV parks with gates and bathhouses. So those are some new options that have come along to add to things like KOAs and other options where you can stay on those individual night travel stays. Honestly, you could stay at an RV stop if you wanted to for a month. One of the ones we went to that was a full-on RV park, people were there for long term. They had 150-pound propane cans sitting out front. And it's like, they're living here at this Love's truck stop. I thought that was pretty interesting. All right, so basically that's kind of the gist of it. When you do go to Thousand Trails, you can click on these resort maps right here and kind of get an idea of what the parks look like. Sometimes this one's kind of useless because it doesn't tell me 30 amp, 50 amp, sewer or no sewer, but I'm only staying there for one night. Hopefully I can get a decent spot. But one of the scary things about that is, if I just drove 350 miles, pulling into 1,000 Trails for one night, I hope they can accommodate me. If not, at least I know at this one, there is a KOA right next door as a fallback. So there are options. Just got to be careful. You wouldn't want to be looking at a fallback option on the 4th of July weekend when pretty much everybody's out camping. You're not going to have a lot of options there. All right, well, that is all I've got for today. This is basically an overview of how I handle big route plans. We've done the West Coast the summer of 2024. We will be back to the East Coast the summer of 2025. Looking forward to reconnecting with family and friends over there. We probably won't do as many new parks. I would say that some of the Thousand Trails camping has kind of wore me out with some of these tight tree kind of situations. I found it very stressful. So I'm kind of pulling back on how many new places we go to. I mean, we'll go to some, but I want to know that I can get to a campground that is going to be able to accommodate me safely without the fear of ripping my back wall off. If you've followed us for a while, I have ripped the back wall off of our RV. It's happened. So it's very stressful for me. And so when we pull into places where it's really tight trying to get into the spots, I go a lot slower. I depend on everybody that's eyes are looking. And I tell you what, when you've got 5 different people feeding you information, that's kind of even more stressful. It kind of would be good to just get feedback from one person, and that would be Tanya. All right, well, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching our video. We are so glad that you came back to watch more of our videos. If it's your first time, welcome. Remember that life happens. Even bad days, they're still better than a good day at work. No. Life happens. Remember that life happens. Even a bad day camping. Nope. Remember that life happens. Even a bad day camping is better than a good day at work. Yeah, that's it. Don't let that stop you from getting out there. Stay fresh, cheese bags.